Howdy howdy, today I'll be telling you what we should expect for this year's Apple Silicon Mac lineup. Starting right away, and take this as a grain of salt as it comes from leaks and my speculations. The first Mac we should expect to be released this year is the high-end Mac Mini, coming in a complete redesign with a plexiglass top, 2-stripe footer, new cooling system that is coming out from the bottom instead of the back of the Mac Mini, and new power cord similar to the 24-inch M1 iMac. Now, in terms of its processor and specifications, it should be the same as the 2021 MacBook Pro, such as the M1 Pro and M1 Max chip, and likely to get up to 64 gigs of RAM and storage for up to at least 2TB if not 4 or 8TB. Now, the next Mac to be released after the high-end Mac Mini will be the Imac Pro or the big-sized iMac, specifically going to be announced in this year's WWDC that release this September if not December. We should expect a 27-inch to 32-inch display having the same design as the M1 iMac and Pro Display XDR. Likely the back to be cheese graded or not with black bezels and space gray, and the display to have mini LED just like the MacBook Pro. And basically the processor and specifications would be the same as the MacBook Pro. I keep mentioning this too much now, but you know the drill. M1 Pro and M1 Max likely up to 8TB of storage, but maybe up to 120 gigs of RAM because the 2020 27-inch iMac configuration was up to 120 gigs of RAM instead of 64 gigs. And maybe there would be two separate models of this iMac, one for consumers, powered by the M1, and one for Pro users, which basically the specs as I mentioned a while ago, but would still be announced in WWDC. The next Mac that would be announced following up the iMac Pro is the Mac Pro, basically the same design as the M1 Mac Mini, but stacked and likely bigger vents at the back and more I/O ports. In terms of its specifications, it would likely be the same but with two conditions. One, there would be more processor configuration than the M1 Pro or M1 Max. What I mean is there would be multiple processor configuration, for example, dual or quad-core M1 Pro or M1 Max, if not a better processor to get the RAM configuration the same as the 2019 Mac Pro, may be called the M1 Maxer or M1 Uber Max or whatever name would it be. And speaking of RAM configuration is likely to get up to 1.5TB or 2TB of RAM. Pretty much it. Oh, and before we continue, make sure to slap that like button, subscribe, and set notifications to all, and follow my Twitter for video polls or I will personally come and steal all your devices. The next Macs should be announced in the October event, powered by the M2, which is basically a Berry A16 Bionic chip or Berry M1, but does not match to the M1 Pro or M1 Max. And in that event, there would be 4 Macs that would be announced, which is the Mac Mini, but likely have the same design since the MacBook Pro 13-inch or 14-inch, while the entry model would also stick to the same design as the M1 MacBook Pro due to being low-end, but I'd be surprised if either or both get a redesign. Oh, almost forgot, the colorful M2 MacBook Air should also be announced in the event. I believe it shall be thinner, or basically what Renders by Shailesh collaborated with MaxTech created based on leaks and their beliefs. For more information, same color configuration as the 24-inch M1 iMac, no edge design, white bezels, notch, and pretty much it. Or for short, same design as the 2021 MacBook Pros but thinner, have white bezels, and colorful. Aside from the MacBook and Mac Mini being announced, they should also announce the 24-inch iMac, but I don't believe they should be getting any sort of redesign and release this year, but instead in spring of 2023, since last spring of 2021, Apple announced the 24-inch iMac instead of announcing it in October. And that is literally everything we should expect for this year's Apple Silicon Mac lineup. So, without doing any random shenanigans or waste any more of your time, stay techy, bye!